Hello, this is welcoming you to our very first live Facebook. Oh, is it Facebook Live? Well, I declare. I am so excited about having you here today. I'm excited about even being in the place I was breathing today. Come on. Thank you, Pearl. Black Pearl from Pearl's World, who's setting up, doing our setup and sounding. Get on up. I tell you, welcoming my brother here to be with me on this 49th installment of the Emancipation Proclamation. We're going into our 5th year. Would you believe that?
I believe it.
You've been with me ever since we started. So we're really excited. We're really excited that we're moving forth and having now the ability to have some technology. And again, Pearl's from Pearl's World has been very instrumental in making this possible. So we're very, very grateful to be with you today as we are here. Again, hello. This is a wonderful, wonderful day. We're still in January 1960. 2018. But January, nevertheless. In a month that we feel like the Melody of Joy Institute is a very sacred month, because it is the month that the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation by the 16th President Abraham Lincoln composed in 1863. And of course, it is also the month of the birth month of Dr. Martin Luther King. So we have much to be grateful for, and this is very sacred to have these two distinguished events that are coming about in the month of January. Just giving you a little brief about the Melody of Joy Institute. The Melody of Joy Institute provides space and a place for our stories of our American journey to be told. Here on our every third Sunday at 3 o'clock, we come together and we promise our objectives are to educate, to emancipate, to encourage, to entertain, evolve, and to encourage all communities into being responsible for honoring and holding those things which are sacred to us as Americans. And so this morning, this afternoon I should say, we're going to start off with the Dr. Martin Luther King with his self-emancipation. But what we're going to explore today is we're going to work on just excerpts from the Emancipation Proclamation, and then we're going to read excerpts from the Birmingham jail letter that Martin Luther King composed of. That's a very powerful document. And so right now, we're going to have you to listen to the voice and sharing in this video of Dr. Martin Luther King when he speaks about going into the depths of our own soul and signing our own Emancipation Proclamation.
I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. I said to a group last night, nobody else can do this for us. No document can do this for us. No Lincolnian Emancipation Proclamation can do this for us. No Kennethonian or Johnsonian Civil Rights Bill can do this for us. If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with the pen and ink of self-asserted manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody.
Believe in yourself and believe that you are somebody. Believe in yourself and believe that you are somebody. We're saying believe in yourself. Know who you are. Because it is important for us to understand that this man from God came to America, not just for the South and the people in bondage in that fear consciousness communities, but he came for all of America. And that's why he's honored today with the statue in Washington, D.C. But as much as the statue is standing there, that is not what he wants to be remembered by. And that is, in fact, that symbol to us is that that's when the movement starts, to go deeper and find out something about this man, something going into deeper of our resources to find out why was this man so dedicated to it. I'm going to have my brother just for a moment to read excerpts of the Birmingham jail. I oftentimes, when that occurs, we read the document, but somehow or another we lose the fact and the truth of that this letter was a response to something else. He was in effect responding to a publication that was written in Birmingham regarding him being an outsider and untimely with his movement there. So it's very important that we understand that he was responding. The profundity of this document and then learning also about the publication came when I printed it out. And I realized that the 8 clergymen who had published it in the Birmingham newspapers, when I printed out theirs, there was only 3 pages. But when I printed out Dr. Martin Luther King's response, it was 19 pages. And I had to go and find out, excuse me, what is this that he had to go so deep into himself to produce 19 pages. And so because of the depth of this, and I was able to find and feel his spirit and find the reason why, I realized that looking at it and presenting this letter just once is not sufficient.
And he handwrote it.
And, oh yes, thanks, Pearl. And he handwrote it. He used, it was so important for him to respond. He wrote started on the margins of the newspaper. He wrote on scrap paper. He wrote on paper towels. He wrote on any available kind of paper that he could to keep the message going. If you ever experienced a pouring of the Spirit when you were moving, you realize that you can't stop that. So here we are. Here I am in 2018, getting a total image and a graphic of Martin Luther King in a jail cell. What could have possibly moved him to feel that need to be so explicit in responding to these 8 preachers, 6 clergymen, let me correct that, 6 Protestants, 1 rabbi, and 1 Catholic priest? Because he was not allowed to have any paper in the cell that he was in. So just acknowledging that is just tremendous. So right now I'm going to ask my author and my brother, my guest, to share with us the very first part of that Birmingham jail letter written by Dr. Martin Luther King.
And good afternoon. And one other point I'd like to insert here. This letter was written in 1963. 1963, exactly 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation came into effect.
That's true.
Letter from Birmingham jail, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 16 April 1963. My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom do I pause to answer criticisms of my work and ideas. If I sought to answer all the criticisms that came from my desk, my secretary would have little time for any other such correspondence in the course of the day, and I would have no time for constructive work. But since I feel that you are men of genuine goodwill and that your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I want to try to answer your statement in what I hope will be patient and reasonable terms. I think I should indicate why I'm here in Birmingham. Since you've been influenced by the views which argues against outsiders coming in, I have the honor of serving as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization operating in every southern state with headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. We have some 85 affiliated organizations across the South, and one of them is the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. Frequently, we share staff, education, and financial resources with our affiliates. Several months ago, the affiliates here in Birmingham asked us to be on call to engage in a nonviolent direct action program, if such were deemed necessary. We readily consented, and when the hour came, we lived up to our promise. So I, along with several members of my staff, am here because I was invited. I'm here because I have organizational ties here. But more basically, I'm in Birmingham because injustice is here. Just as the prophets of the 8th century of BC left their villages and carried their "Thus saith the Lord" far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns, and just as the Apostle Paul left his village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to the far corners of the Greco-Common world, so am I compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my own home. Like Paul, I must constantly respond to the Macedonian call for aid.
I hope you heard that. And thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you.
This is so profound. And each month we are going to read this beginning of the let me get a name. You know what? He said, I am compelled to carry the gospel of freedom. Now this is what he said. I'm not making it up. You can Google it, find it yourself. This was the first proclamation of Dr. Martin Luther King about his true ministry in alignment with the gospel of the prophets before Christ and those who came after with their gospel, like Paul, the great emancipator of Christianity. But he called it the gospel of freedom and all. So I guess what I will do is I'll turn this week already. We are going to be following the Birmingham jail letter, proclaiming the gospel of freedom and the movement of truth marching on as Dr. King started it. As they say, let the church sing amen. We missed it. I just got it, Ernest, when you said that. Even though I have it, the gospel of freedom. Come on, Facebook, listen. The gospel of freedom. One of the beautiful things about this week is important for us to read each time, is because listen to what he did. He knew who he was. You see, we have to know our purpose. We have to know the plan that we're in. We have to make plans. Not only that, but we have to know that whatever plan is going, we got a position in life. If we don't know our purpose, know that somebody got a purpose for us. If we don't know what our purpose is, you know what, we're going to be pawns in somebody else's purpose. If we don't know our identity, then somebody else is going to give us an identity. And if we don't know our position, somebody will give us a position, to give you a position, so that you can move like they want you to move, go where they want you to go, and say, yes, sir, it's all right. But this man here, he did not, this man was writing to clergy, 6 Protestants, 1 Catholic priest, and 1 rabbi. And he did not bow. He didn't tuck his tail. He stood firmly on who I am. It is powerful when one, whether it's a woman or male or female or man or whatever, when you can stand on your I am. He said, I am here in Birmingham. He stated his purpose. He said, since you have been influenced by the views which argue against outsiders coming in, I have the honor of serving as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Not only was he coming as an individual, but he let you know that he was coming as a leader, as a force, as a power that had roots in 85 organizations in the South. He did not come. He approached these 8 clergymen, that's 8 churches. He had 85 organizations who were standing in the gospel of freedom, which he had to proclaim because they didn't know who he was. He said 85 affiliates, and he says he has a staff. He has educational resources, financial resources with his affiliates. And he said several months ago, the affiliates came to him and said, hey, we're suffering injustices here. And what did he say? Because of who I am, I had to answer that. Okay, I'm not getting carried away. Anyway, now
tell a story.
Tell
about
a
what
story.
inspired you for the Birmingham letter and about your experience with Martin Luther King and the nonviolent movement. And why this letter is important now and how it ties into the emancipation. Share that.
Let me share this. During the time in 1963, I was just finishing high school. And I really didn't know very much about Martin Luther King. But I liked the movement, I liked the spirit, I liked the power that was being exemplified. And I said, I want to be a part of that. But then they got to the nonviolent part. And they had groups organized in New Orleans to show you how to be nonviolent. And of course, your sister here was very much out of context on that one. I attended a workshop, and the very first time I had a tomato thrown in my face and called the N-word, I said, this is not for me. Well, I picked out the tomatoes from out my nose. But I respected Martin Luther King. I honored him. And I realized that this man was putting his life on the line for me and for others. But I did not know how. I didn't have the discipline. The only thing I knew was if somebody hit you, you hit them back. And I was very much into that, and I did not want to release that. My mama taught me that. My daddy taught me that. My grandmama taught me that. So I didn't know how to release that, because the only way I knew how to defend myself was if you hit me, I'm going to get you. So I said, what do I do? Lady Lover said. And so I learned that you had other ways you could support. Other ways you can support rather than being on the line. It's like being a singer. Let's just sing it without some good background. Instruments. Martin Luther King was up in the front, but people don't realize how many people were in the back in so many places supporting what he was doing. But he was willing to put himself out there to sacrifice. Not only for those who loved him and supported him, but for even those that despised him, as it was with these ministers here. So I said I couldn't do that. So I went into the kitchen. I helped make sandwiches. I raised some money. I had a number of friends. They raised money so that the Freedom Riders could ride the bus and pay for them and whatever. So there are a lot of people who just like me could not deal with that. And some say, oh, you are afraid. No, it was no fear. It was respect. It was understanding that I did not have the discipline and I was not prepared for that time. You see, because just like the candy now and later, that time wasn't mine. I came later, and here I am. Does that make sense? You gotta know what you're doing. You have a comment on that?
In your high school, just your story.
Well, I tell you now, you made me think about 1963 in May, when a month after this letter, I was finishing college. And 5 months later, I entered the United States Army.
Mm.
So, and I spent 3 years in the Army. So I was kind of, the Army didn't let us know what was going on back in the States.
Mm.
We were really cut off. This was also during the Vietnam thing.
Mm.
And when I did get back home, I was very disrespected because I was in the Army. Yeah. So this letter from Birmingham, 100 years later, from the Emancipation Proclamation,
That's right.
100 years later from the
Issuing of it.
issuing of the Emancipation Proclamation, people are still seeking emancipation.
Mhm.
So I believe this letter that he sent, oh my God, it's about 40 minutes. It's over 40 minutes long, read intelligently. He explained without a doubt how it was necessary for him to be there. It was necessary for the people to be doing what they were doing. And it was necessary because the powers that be were not going to change.
Well, you see, that's the key to this letter. And I didn't get it. I've read it many times, and I always said, my goodness, this letter is better than anything Paul ever wrote in the scriptures. I was just fascinated because that's the comparison. Paul was bold, and he compared himself, and what he was doing is aligning himself with the greats. Martin Luther King was putting himself in alignment with those people who were sent by God, those powerful deliverers, emancipators. Just as Abraham Lincoln was. Even he was a president, yes, but he too put himself on the line for that. And Lady Love is here. She's going to read an excerpt from that. And tagging on what you were talking about, the Vietnam, yes, it was disrespect. And you know what happened? Because Martin Luther King exposed it.
That's exactly
Martin
right.
Luther King exposed the unjust war. And he was in Birmingham. He said, wherever I respond to the Macedonian call for aid. And the aid in Birmingham was injustice. The troops in Vietnam was fighting, losing their lives for an unjust war.
Yes.
And now I got Lady Love. She's going to.
But that's sort of the purpose of this here, is that it's for these stories to be told. The purpose of this Emancipation Proclamation is about these stories and about the clip about self-emancipation that Martin Luther King talked about, was that asserting your own manhood, womanhood, and freeing yourselves. But this platform allows for those stories to be told because they need to be told.
These are stories that need to be told. These are stories that have to be told, because as long as we do not tell our stories, we are in bondage. And as long as we don't consider our stories sacred, then how can we get divine help? If we don't tell our stories and understand that God is using us and the Spirit is to be flowing through us, there's so much that we keep to ourselves. You know, I was even put off the bus when I was about 6 years old, and I was going to piano lessons, and I didn't want to move to the back seat because my grandmama told me to sit behind the bus driver. Well, I didn't understand that black folks and colored folks and Negroes weren't supposed to be sitting in the front. My grandmama told me to sit there, and the bus drivers let me sit there. But one particular day, I was on my way to piano lessons, and the high school on this, I think it's Kelly, on Claiborne Avenue, the students got on. They were just big children to me. See, when I was 6 or 7 years old, there was no black and white. It was big kids and little kids. And the bus driver said, you're going to have to sit in the back now. And I said, sit in the back, why? He said, because the children need to see. I said, well, let them sit down. He said, no, you got to get up. I said, why do I have to get up? They're bigger than me. He said, look, you get up and go to the back. I said, no, my grandmama told me to sit here. He said, your grandma don't run this bus. You have to get up. And I said, no, my grandmama told me to stay here. That man stopped the bus, put it in the park, stood over me, grabbed my arm just like I was a potato sack, and drug me off the bus. And the tips of my shoes could hit each step going down. And when he got on the corner, he lifted me, I guess as high as he could hold his hand. And he dropped me in the streets. I never felt anything like that before. I said, wait a minute. What is this about? It was so cold. I wanted to cry, but I said, why are you doing this? He said, you can't do this. I said, well, look, that's all right. I'm going to get on another bus. I helped him to transfer. I said, that's okay. I'll have a transfer. I'll get on the next bus. He said, you can't use that transfer for the same bus. I said, oh. So I had a grandmama, and she'd take a handkerchief, and she put some money, and she paid extra money for me. And I showed it to him. I said, my grandmama gave me some money, so I'll just get the next bus. That man turned the color. He looked at me, he got to mumbling some stuff, and he shut that door as hard as he could. And when he shut the door, my chest looked like it came in. It was so painful, and my eyes started watering. And a voice came in and he said, don't you shed a tear. Don't you shed a tear. I was scared of the voice. I didn't know what that was. And I didn't shed a tear. But as the bus drove up, and it got further and further away, and I realized that I was in a place that I had never been before. I was on a street corner. Never, ever. The tears started flowing. But the key was he didn't see me cry. He saw me stand. And then I looked up and I saw fountain blue. And I realized God had put something there. I was a strange sight, but I knew that arch of fountain blue. And I knew it was at the other end of the street. Another time for a story to tell. So even with our children, they need our stories. And when I went home to tell my mom and dad about it, do you know what? No one ever addressed it. I asked my grandmama about it. She said, no, some just have some new people. But I said, that's more than I asked my daddy about it. He said, okay, we'll talk about it later. And then we're at the dinner table. My mama, yeah, we'll talk about it later. But nobody wanted to talk about it. But the next time my grandmother went out with me. And she stood there and we waited time and time because she wanted to see this man that dropped her granddaughter off. But it didn't happen. But it felt good knowing somebody stood for me. And so when you read in here in Martin Luther King and other things, he said how it feels for a parent to have to conjure up a story, something to tell a child. Why? White folks don't like you because of your color. I didn't understand. I was angry at my parents for a while, but now I understand. How can you tell them something that they don't understand? So we're here at the Melody of Joy Institute, celebrating Martin Luther King, celebrating Emancipation Proclamation here in this January. Come on here. Sacred month. Telling our stories. Set up our setting director is Black Pearl from the Pearl's World. And Lady Love is here, and I wanted her to read an excerpt. You want to say something?
Oh, I wanted to ask a question. The day that Martin Luther King was killed, how did you all feel? What happened? What was the environment like in your home, in your environment, in your community? What was that like? Because, when I look at TV and I see the environment and how people were rioting, were they rioting in Louisiana?
No. It was devastating. I don't know, did you have?
I just got out of the army and I was at my first teaching job. And being in the army, I wasn't exposed to what was going on. And I was not in New Orleans. I was in Lake Charles, little small town, very little going on. And when I heard that Martin Luther King had been killed, it was at a teachers' meeting, and everything stopped, and people began to cry. And I think I was more distant than they were because, like I said, I had been away from the whole event. And so I knew he was important, but the impact to me was not as great as people that had been involved and just had the knowledge of what was going on.
And you know what? And let me say too, which is a really, really good question. And since I've been working with this Emancipation Proclamation for 49 months, at some point in time, I had to distinguish myself from the Negroes in the North, because I'm a Negro from the South. And many of you are not aware of it, but much of the news and information and communication was censored. And we did not get the same information that you in the North did. We didn't get everything on Martin Luther King. It was more or less the television that kind of put some things. It started happening because television was live at that time. And we were able to see the Birmingham with the dogs. But so much was not told to us. For instance, I learned more about Malcolm X when I moved to Chicago as a fully grown woman and a mother than I knew. I was at Xavier University, and my English teacher said, "What y'all gonna do now? Y'all ain't got no leaders." And I told him, "What you mean we got no leaders? What do you mean?" He said, "No." He said, "Well, what you gonna do?" I said, "We got the mayor. We got our council." He said, "I mean, your leaders. We got leaders." And he says, "No, they just killed one of your leaders." And I wasn't alone in that classroom at Xavier, as many of us. And what are you talking about to kill? He said, "Don't you know Malcolm X?" None of us knew him. Because what he had done and what he was doing, Lady Love, was not brought to us. I knew he was Patrice Lumumba. I learned a little bit more Patrice Lumumba over in Africa than I did with Malcolm X. So to answer your question, the profundity of it really didn't hit some of us down south because we really didn't know that much about him. How about that? Because there was no really political machines or communication machines as it was. So thank you for that question. The rioting, no. In fact, let me give you an example. I was at LSU. I don't know what class I was in. And you know what the professor said to the class? The dog is dead.
Who were they talking about?
They was talking about, oh no, that was, he was talking about Kennedy. It was Kennedy. I was afraid of Kennedy. Because what it was, the feeling was this, that anybody that supported Negroes wasn't fit to live. You have to understand there's a different consciousness that was plaguing the South. And
Still does.
And it still does. See, 1863 freed our ancestors from that servitude position. But now we need to be emancipated.
America needs to be.
America is entrenched with a slave mentality and a consciousness. America's in bondage. America's in bondage. And emancipation needs to be for that.
Did you say your uncle used to work with A. Philip Randolph? Yeah,
my uncle, Uncle Carol Bolden. He was the president of the AFL-CIO. In fact, he was the first to bring it down to a union, a Negro union, across the Mason-Dixon line. For those of you who may not be aware, the Mason-Dixon line was very much. We knew about the Mason-Dixon line, do we not? We talked. The Mason-Dixon line was a line that divided the North and the South, and it's still there in the minds of many people. And so my uncle worked very, very closely with Philip Randolph. And it wasn't until I came to Chicago that I really realized that my uncle could not have done what he did if he had not got the support from the northern people up here. But you see, those are stories again that they didn't tell us, because I would be much stronger had I known that I was that close. You know, I may have met him and didn't even know it. But
Your aunt
anyway.
said that he was at the house a lot.
Oh yeah, my great aunt, she told me he was at the house all the time at her pots. She said she started talking about how bold he was, just walk in the house and won't eat what she got, go in the refrigerator. So these people were close to us, but again, we don't tell our stories. And so
But
thank you for
we are right.
we all right.
Telling you.
We all right.
Yeah, we
all
are
right.
telling you.
Hey y'all, how are you doing out there? So great seeing you. I don't have my glasses on.
Got Sadako here and Nina Green here.
Hey Sadako, Nina Green, and everybody. Love you guys. Let somebody know we on Space Live. So
Our great-grandfather, insert this, our great-grandfather was instrumental in setting up many unions, bricklayers, what other kind of unions, all across the South. And he was done with the aid of a Randolph.
oh,
Yes,
well, you never told me that.
I read about it.
Please.
So that's the whole purpose of this, why you're doing the
Yeah.
third Sunday. And this year, you're gonna be featuring, it's a year of authors. So the truth is that you are providing a platform for the stories to be told. And right before you, you have two authors who you're gonna be featuring, right, this year.
In fact, Lady Love Janine Ingram, she'll be with us next month with her book, Born to be Rich. And she's going to tell her story. Unbelievable. No one but God could have allowed this young lady to survive. She battled from the womb and all of her life, and she survived it. And to be able to exemplify the character of Dr. Martin Luther King, this letter moved me because when I read the publication that the clergy had sent to the, didn't send it to him, sent it to all Alabama, discouraging people from supporting it. And his response to their 3 typewritten letters that I printed out, 19, it let me know that this man went very, very deep in himself, because he determined that these people were corrupt and did not know that they were corrupt.
That's right.
He knew that they were following a gospel that had become corrupted, and even in this, that they were very sincere. And for him to be able to appeal, being able to approach them, that he would have to go to the infinity of his own soul and mind to be able to respond, because he was calling his people and followers to be of good character. And yet here he had to exemplify that. Read that Birmingham jail letter, because he states who he is. He aligns himself with the prophets. He aligns himself, letting you know that, hey, leadership is possible. He also shows you with the 4 steps. He gave a strategy for you and me and all Americans for nonviolence.
What are those steps?
What are those steps? Those steps was negotiation. Excuse me. The first thing is collection. Collect information. That's what we're doing, collecting these stories. Then your negotiation. Remember, he targeted injustices. Where are the injustices? Where are the things that you're concerned about? Where are you being treated wrong? Where do you want to make wrong right? Collect that data. Oh, I'm getting excited. Collect the data.
Sure.
Then negotiate. Go to the people, or go to the places where the offenses come from. Go to the lunch counters. Go to the preachers. Go wherever injustices are.
Are those 4 steps?
The 4 steps is negotiate. The third one,
First was
Collection.
the first is collect information. The second is negotiate. The third one is self-purification.
Negotiate, at least collect information.
Use the mic.
Collect information and to prove that these things are going on. Then you can't negotiate. You try for negotiations, but when they don't work, then you go for you do a purification.
I think that's what I said.
Plan, and then you do a purification, and the last one is the
Direct action.
direct
But what
action.
does purification mean? What does self-
It means prepare. It's a preparation. It's a preparation for being not valid. What she couldn't go through, that was the purification. You
Okay.
were attacked by your own people in preparation for being attacked by other folks, and it gave you, even though you knew it was your people doing it, it gave you a good foundation for accepting it from the white folks when they attacked you.
It was have to like kill yourself, like you'd have to die.
There you
Die
go.
to the ego, die to all the things that
Beautiful.
connect you to offense.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, that is, and as Lady Love was asking, self-purification, that was the thing that impressed me about it. You find that in the Birmingham jail too. And then he had 4 steps. And what you said is valid because that's all part of the process. But he specified these 4 areas: collection of data, negotiate, then self-purification. And the self-purification, Lady Love, I plugged in it in the way that we do it on the love journey. That what we do in order for us to be able to promote anything or be about it, we have to go and get rid of our own fears, face the truth of ourselves. And what have self-purification is that if you are going to do this, do it with all your heart, your soul. Many people do not realize when the freedom fighters went on. We're going to be close enough because I want to get the freedom fighters. Before they got on the bus, they prayed and they wrote out a will. They got on the bus with a will because they knew that when they got on that bus, they may not come back home.
Wow.
So they wrote this because they knew that they were putting themselves out as a sacrifice for those who were there and for those of us that come later. Self-purification knows that I'm setting myself up here as a martyr. Come on here. And I want to make sure that I'm okay fully with this. That's serious. So self-purification, making sure your mind is right. And then the 4th one was direct action. Because after you've gone negotiating and you resolve it, you said sometimes you come in and change things, you have to go on yourself because they hurt you. And you just say, well, they talk with forked tongues, they make treaties and they break treaties. Well, they begin to break the negotiation. They have the negotiation, they agree, and they break agreements. That hurts. So let's get in your mind. What are you for? We are for justice. Make sure that the vision is clear. Make sure that your purpose is clear. And then from that, your direct action. And when you take direct action, you have to go with God. You have to go with God. And for many of us, we've forgotten that. And I want to, I'm inviting you to look at that Birmingham jail, pray on it, because this man was carrying the gospel of freedom. We are students, and if we're for freedom, let's get into the movement. This freedom is not just for you and I, but it's for all America, for our families, because our schools are needed.
Around the world.
All around the world and the globe. This is Mama Joy saying, hey, every month we're here the 3rd Sunday, 3 o'clock. And I want you to also understand that the Emancipation Proclamation, here we honor it as a sacred document. It was a legal document, and it was a moral document. It's a generational document. and it's a document that should be taught. It's educational. It's part of the American experience. Our children should know it. It was a document that someone else, Abraham Lincoln, put his life on the line. Put his life on the line so that this country could be healed. Because he said, a nation divided cannot stand. And so we're here with the gospel of freedom and the emancipation to continue the healing in this country. So we thank you so much for joining with us. And by the way, let me close saying this. We call it the letter from the Birmingham jail. But do you know what Martin Luther King called it? The Negro is your brother, baby brother. It was a letter of brotherhood. So thank you so much, so very much.
Every month, you're going to be covering a piece from the Birmingham letter and featuring an author, right?
Featuring an author. We're gonna be walking with Dr. Martin Luther King for this entire year on this Birmingham jail letter, because in it is powerful and it would bring healing to all of us, because this was not only a man from God, but he brought on a new gospel for this country. And she had declared herself to be home of the brave and the land of the free. He said, without God, we say without God, you can do nothing. And so he lived and died, not just because of whatever he said, but he died to set us free.
And before we go, though, we would like to, because next month we're going to be having Queen Janine Ingram, author of Born to Be Rich, and she is also the founder and creator of the Love Journey Experience, a prayer line for people all across the country and the world. And she'll give you more information about that so you can connect to those vibrations, so that you can begin to connect with those self-emancipators that have taken the stories of their lives to free others.
Yes, I want to first say thank you for having the heart and the courage to bring out this kind of information. And I was so looking forward to coming to hear what the spiritual significance and how it related to the Emancipation Proclamation. So I want to say thank you for having the heart to stand outside the box and do something very different than the average person who talks about Martin Luther King, but to get into the depth and the heart of who he was and his mission. And so I just honor that with all my heart. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because sometimes we take on missions and we don't even know how it's going to unfold. And this is a beautiful mission. I'm like, wow, I was really excited to come hear about this today. So I want to say thank you. And I just want to say thank you to Black World Pearl for doing all that amazing stuff. Looking at all this electronics, I'm like, wow, it's so amazing. I am Janine Ingram, and my mission is to assist people into finding who they are through love. I love this quote or statement that George Washington Carver once said. Somebody asked him, why do you love plants? And he said, because the plants talk to you. And he said, but what they asked him, well, what is it about the plants? He said, you know, when you fall in love with something, it reveals its secrets.
All right now.
And that just stuck in my heart. And I said, well, what if I fell in love with myself so deeply that God and my energetic expression would teach me the secrets of why I was here? What if I fell in love so deeply with the soul and the essence of myself that I could live the purpose and design? And so that's what my mission is to help people find that depth, that soul. And so I love the love journey. And as we move back into our experience in February, because we've been off for a whole month. I've been doing it for 10 years.
We give them the grandmama. She's
And
a grandma.
I have not ever taken a whole month off. But it's been very soul story to sit with myself every morning and to be with myself and to journal and to pray and to see what the next step for my life is. So I'm super excited about this year, super excited about how everything is unfolding, how we're going to take the Blog Talk Radio to the next level, how we're going to take the Love Journeys mission and do more things this year in the community, and actually have a face and a voice in the community. And that's our goal this year. So thank you so much for allowing us to collaborate together with all of our missions And I really start to see the importance of collaboration.
Mm.
You know, we think we can do this thing alone, but we really can't. You know, the more of us come together, the voices come together, the thought processes and the plan and the mission come together, the more we can really make an impact in the community. And so my goal this year is not just to talk about it, but to be about it. I want to make a bigger impact in the community where we'll have a voice and people will know that we're here.
And we are here.
Yes.
And we are here. We are here. Thank you so much.
How can they get in contact with you? When will you begin the love journey again? You all meet on the phone at what time?
We meet every morning on Blog Talk Radio.
Blog Talk Radio.
And we're every morning, Monday through Friday. We have Saturday and Sundays off, but we meet at 6 a.m. Central Time, and the number is 602-723-1902. That's 602-723-1902. That's Blog Talk Radio, Love Journey. You can go to our Love Journey Facebook page, like our page. You can go to Blog Talk Radio, go to Love Journey and find our archives. And you can go to Janine A. Ingram and go to my page and find out information about who we are. If you can't make it on the Blog Talk Radio because it's too full, you can go to the teleconference line, which is 712-432-0900. That's 712-432-0900. Access code is 772719. Every Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. And our mission is to assist each person in becoming an architect of their own lives by using bricks of courage, love, faith, passion, and purpose. I am Janine A. Ingram. Thank you.
Hello. I'm just getting started because she's the teacher.
And we'll put all those links at the bottom of the post. You have all those links to those pages.
And Pearl's World will be putting all of them at the bottom
Also
of the page.
with Ernest, the teacher, life coach, and mentor. Just a wealth and plethora of experiences and stories, quips and anecdotes. You can find that all in 2 of his books, Another Great Day and The Game of Life and How to Play It. These are the stories, our stories. So oftentimes when we're talking about the posterity of our legacies, we don't necessarily have to complain about what others aren't doing for our works. We're supporting our works. These are the emancipators here before you. And we move the world, one word, one story, and one activity at a time. So you'll see all of these works on the links and access to their material right before you.
You know, I just want to close out one thing to kudos for Pearl. For her experience and Lady Love experience. This is what we're growing to be. And one of the things I want you to know is that our people are moving the world with our talents and our gifts. As I had an opportunity to go to Korea twice last year, and I heard Michael Jackson play, music being played, classical. I heard our spirituals being sung by Korean artists and vocalists. And when I experienced this, I said, we don't even sing it that much anymore. Our children don't even know it. I have a dream being spoken by their children. What does it profit for this man, Martin Luther King, to move and transform the world and bring evolution to the world? And we right here in the community that he came from, gave birth to him, have not gotten the message. That's why we're here. We're here because as the world turns and we're turning it, it's time for us to turn our world. Amen. With love and justice for the sake of our posterity as our children. So thank you so very much, each and every one of you. And I want to thank you, Ernest. That's right. Let me get some manners now. My mama did teach me. And Queen Hostess Claudette, who's not with us today, thank you for reminding me. She had an emergency and she was not able to be here, but she's been a trooper with me for at least 47 of these months. And so I'm praying for her. She had death in her family, and we keep her in prayer. Keep her mother in prayer. She's very much missed. Somebody got some little things going across the screen. I just love that. Claudette, if you were there, love you, love you.
We miss you.
We miss you. She's so elegant. We went to Korea together with Lady Love, and she was looking all queen, and Lady Love was looking sassy, and I was looking like mama. But we just,
Sassy.
we
She
all,
looked as sassy and elegant. She was a mixture of all of it. A Tina Turner and a Nancy Wilson.
I know she gonna get that way. You know, when I would lose sight of Janine, I said, now where she's at, where she's at? I said, look, I'm looking for my friend, I'm looking for my friend. They said, what she look like? I said, she got a long ponytail. I said, kind of blonde hair. Oh, the one with the fancy shoes? I said, that's her. So if we come in as expressions of God, being true to ourselves just as we are, that's what God wants you to be, true to yourself. Love yourself just as you are.
Mother Joy.
Mama Joy, your local to global ambassador, community ambassador, saying, the emancipator dwells in you.
See you next Thursday.
See you next
Sunday.
third Sunday at 3 o'clock. You know, mamas never get, even mamas can learn, right? Hello. I got some daughter, by the way. God bless you. Peace, peace. Woo, get on up. God bless you. We're on the move. Get on up. Yeah.